everyone, welcome to another episode of The Truth. But before we get started today, I just want to introduce our lovely host. Over to my right is Tiffany Michelle.
Hey everyone.
Next to her is Letitia Etienne.
Welcome everyone.
And over to my left is Nikita J.
Hey y'all, hey.
And right next to me over here, movie figure herself, is Angelina Serrano.
Hey everyone.
And I'm Danielle K. Grand. When we got started with The Truth, we were in the middle of the pandemic, and today we want to check in with you to find out how are you really doing.
Emphasis on the really.
Yes, really. For real.
For real.
Be honest.
So this is what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get started, as always, we want to get into our fire topic. Yes. Tisha, why don't you take it over?
All right, let's get right into it. So ladies, what family taboos did you grow up with?
Ooh, taboos.
What is a taboo? I think we should explain what a taboo is.
Because I don't think we should be talking about it then.
Okay. A taboo is defined as a social or religious custom prohibiting or forbidding discussion of a particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing.
Taboo.
I think I can start off.
All right, go for it.
In a Caribbean household, I don't know if it's in every household, but it's like all your business doesn't leave this house. Okay, you keep family business in the house, and I think that's great.
Yes.
But sometimes you have that mentality, and when it's time to talk about things, you don't know how to talk about
Shut it
things.
down. Yep,
Yeah.
that's what you real.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think to me, I find that taboos usually come in the form of a metaphor or a saying.
Yes.
As I was, prepping for the show, I had a laughable thought that came to my mind, and the subject of sex, is taboo. And my sex conversation was, don't do it. End. That was the end of it. So that, sex has always been something, that people don't talk about, but the world is full of people, so it's obviously happening.
Yes. Right. I know one of the things that when I got married, I was told not to talk about is that if you and your husband are going through issues, that doesn't leave the house.
Yeah.
Primarily because when you as a spouse will forgive your husband, the family still carries that on.
But I feel like that one actually kind of makes sense. Yeah. Because sometimes that happens. Like, you ever had a friend and they tell you something about someone and you're like with her, you're like, yeah, girl, I don't like him.
Yes.
And then you see her with him and you kind of feel like, man,
Right.
I just put all that energy into that. Maybe we shouldn't, but I think sometimes you join in the experiences of the people around you.
But I think it's important that you find somebody to talk to, because sometimes even now in the pandemic, so many couples are going through and they're holding on to this taboo that we don't talk about it, and they're suffering in silence.
Yeah. And just because you don't address something or talk about it, it doesn't mean that it goes away.
Exactly.
It's still going to be there, and it's going to keep coming up until you resolve it. I can't really identify any of my own family, but I know that a lot of times there's taboo about talking about your period.
Yes.
Yes. You don't.
Yeah.
I've had friends that have told me I did not know what was happening to me at that point.
I remember I screamed when it happened.
Listen, my story is crazy. I stood in front of the mirror and I was crying and I was like, why me? But I knew that it was coming at some point. But I heard of people that they're I had no idea what was happening, and I thought I was dying because nobody talked to me about it. No one. I even had a friend that told me that she didn't even have pads the first few days because she was afraid to tell someone till the third day hey, I got this.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, how did she
Yikes.
function?
That was a tissue moment.
Oh my goodness. I remember when I first got it, I was like, what is this? And I was like, screamed out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no one told me either about it. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a huge taboo. People don't talk about it. And I think the idea behind not talking about it is because in a lot of cultures, there's this idea if I talk to you about sex, if I talk to you about your period, if I talk to you about drugs, if I talk to you about depression, then that means I'm introducing the idea to you.
Right.
And that's not really the reality. These are circumstances that are going to come in life. Life is filled with different experiences. And us mentioning to someone something doesn't mean that they're going to go run and do it.
Exactly.
It just means that we want to make them prepared. I would say even that when you don't talk to people about certain things, then they're naive and then they fall into
it. Yeah, that's for real.
Yeah, I don't know if this is considered taboo. I'm just sitting here thinking as you're talking. But I was raised not to allow someone to sort of like beat you up or bully you. Like if you came home crying because someone beat you up, it's a whole problem.
It's a whole problem.
Like there was none of that. So I don't know if you consider that taboo or not, but that was like.
Well, it was a practice. It was like,
it was like, listen,
no.
you fight me.
How did that turn out?
I wasn't trying to come home and have to fight my mama, so I had to fight you.
I'm done. Yeah. She said, fight my mama.
Fight my mom.
Wow.
I know one of the other taboos is that you don't talk about money at all.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to be broke? Huh?
Right.
Or don't give money. Or
don't
loan
give
money.
money.
Don't
Yes.
loan money.
What did you say your father said?
My father said, do not loan money that you can't afford to lose. Okay? So if you can't afford to lose it, don't give it out.
Don't give it out.
We want to know, what are some of the taboos that you grew up with? We want to hear them in the comment section. All right? So let's get into our show.
All right.
All right.
So I think another taboo issue is something that we don't like to discuss, and it's mental health. You know, where we are mentally, how are we feeling, what are our emotions telling us? And I think, you know, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we started this in the beginning stages of the pandemic, and yet we're still here. I think everyone figured that we would be kind of over it by now, but we're still here. Winter is coming. It's like, all right, so what do we do now? So we really just want to check in with, like, you know, check in with yourself and sort of sit down and really quantify where you are right now.
I remember in the beginning of the show, you said something, Tisha, that stood out, and you talked about we have to do a self-audit.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's always now resonating with me. Like, you need to check in with yourself. Like, you can't neglect your mental health, your emotional health, your wholeness, because you're so busy trying to keep up. It's almost like all the episodes tied together. Keep up with the Joneses. Or trying to keep up with the moving times. And it's okay to say, like, I'm not at the stage of change, or I'm not at the stage that I feel okay. This is silly, but, like, I was watching a show last night, and I'm like, I miss a world without masks.
I did too.
Like, I really do. Like, it actually got me a little, like, in my feelings, because I'm like, first off, maskne is real. You get acne from it.
Right.
But also, like...
You do.
You do that. Don't even zoom in.
Folliculitis.
Yeah, don't zoom in, but it's over here.
It's called folliculitis.
Okay.
I had it. That's how I know what it is. I went to the dermatologist, like, listen, something's not right.
From
my
the
skin doesn't break out.
That's not true.
My skin does not break out like that. So I was like, something's wrong. She said it's called folliculitis. Folliculitis, guys. Call your dermatologist.
Maskne. But even just, like, like, first off, I feel, sorry, New Englanders, but I already feel like New England is kind of cold. Like, people aren't as nice as they could be.
That is true.
You are, but you know what I mean. Like, people aren't as nice. You're from the South, so you know that Southern charm. So now it's like, everybody's like,
I know.
It is worse.
You can't cough. You can't cough. You can't do nothing.
I was watching the press conference, and it was like, they kept, like, saying, like, masks are required, they're not an option. I get it.
Yeah.
But also, I don't get it.
Don't look at me.
I don't get it either.
You know how I feel.
Yeah, I know how you feel. But I really
want to know how you feel. How do you feel about the mask?
But you relate that you felt the same way. Like, I was literally watching that show, and I'm like, must be nice, because this is no longer our experience, and we don't know, like you said, how long we're gonna be in this season, and that's kind of anxiety provoking.
Yeah. Well, let's check in with ourselves. How are you doing, Tiffany? How are you doing?
I think I'm okay.
You're okay.
I think I'm gonna say okay. Like I told you guys, you guys know, I work in the medical field, so I really haven't had the off that everyone else had. I liked when everything was shut down, because when I left work, it was my time.
Yeah.
But now that things are kind of open back up for the most part, there's still things to do. There's still places to be, things to go to, or Zoom everything. Yeah. So it's like you still don't have that time for yourself that I had at one point. So I could say I'm okay. Because some people are home, they're working from home. Not saying that working from home is not difficult.
Don't even start that.
No, not saying it's not difficult. But I'm saying, like, driving to work, having to be somewhere, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So I'm okay.
You're okay. Hanging in there.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you, Tisha?
I think I'm good.
You're good.
I started out, you know, like Tiffany, we're both introverts. I was enjoying the solitude, but I was also looking for a little more direction as well. And I feel like, probably last few days, like, sort of a light bulb went off in my head as far as like what the next step could possibly be. So I just need to sort of pursue it, own it, and work on it. So, yeah.
I think for me, when we started out, I was like literally on fire. And now I feel like now my fire is quenching, and I literally I'm on two wheels right now. To be honest with you, like I'm riding on two wheels, just trying to harvest the rest of what's left of the season. And I'm at the place right now where I'm like, okay, can you leave some things behind, or are you just gonna just go for it? And it's a predicament that I'm in, that I want to maximize on the time, but I also have to know when to stop. And stopping right now is a hard thing for me. Like I don't know when to stop. And so I'm on the two wheels, and I said I'm going to go until all the wheels fall off. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it's been challenging. It's a challenge to get to that decision, and hopefully I get there soon before I burn out. Honestly.
Yeah, because it's going to take a lot to repair that if you burn out.
Yeah.
I'm not doing okay because I don't like winter. I really dislike the winter season, and I don't like COVID. Or, the experience of having to live through this pandemic. I mean, I'm grateful because I know that even in this season, there's so much advantage that we have, and I'm grateful for, having a job and being able to have a warm place to stay. But I'm the type of person that I feel things deeply, and that's a blessing, and in some senses a downfall, because just the conditions of the world just feel very overwhelming, honestly. To the point that I'm like, you know what, I need to kind of not be so present in social media, not be so involved in different conversations, because not because I don't care about what's happening, but because it just really makes me feel sad for everything that's happening in the world. So I think that in this season, I'm kind of taking it as like a self-audit and saying like, what parts of me need to be healed, whole, transformed, whatever the case may be, because things probably won't go back to what we consider normal. And I feel like I need to be prepared for whatever that might look like.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Well, for me, I find that I'm busier than I was when we started, actually. For some reason, I've taken on more commitments. I don't know what's happening. But the bigger thing was the homeschooling with my kids. That was a huge thing, and it's still a huge thing. And I actually feel like it's gotten harder. Because my oldest is in the 9th grade, so there's a lot of stuff that she's doing, and I'm just like, sis, I don't know what that is. And then the younger one, remember the big deal with the new math versus the old math? Suge's doing old math for the rest of her life. So it is what it is. Yes, because it's gonna be okay. A lot. And then now I've got a part-time job. It's just, I feel like I'm just taking on more, and I don't know why I'm taking on more, honestly.
Because you got goals.
I guess so. I mean, I just feel like I'm busier than I was before. So honestly, I love working from home. Tiffany.
I do not say anything, Jonathan, because I'm hating on everyone. To be honest with you, I'm hating on everyone that's working from home because I don't have that option, okay?
I don't get to.
And working from home, I'm still crazy busy. Still, like I have so much stuff.
It's so crazy though, because before the pandemic, everybody had to go to work. And some people would be like, well, is there an option of me like working one day from home because they had different circumstances? And agencies or bosses would be like, no, that's really not an option. And now it's like, I still have a lot of work from home. Like it does not change. So it's kind of crazy how like the circumstances forced us to this option, and it is actually manageable and doable from home.
I'm going to say back to the working at home thing, Tiffany. It is a lot of work from literally, because I have to get up before they get up. I have to prep for work. I'm prepping for the other two for school. Then I have a young baby.
What time do you wake up?
Exactly, thank you.
Then you're cooking.
Then I'm cooking.
You're going to be able
breakfast,
to be there.
you're the lunch, and the teacher. And snacks in between. A person that's potty training.
Oh my gosh.
And trying to keep the house clean because you're working, but I'm gonna tell you this honestly. Sometimes I'm like,
girl, you're watching.
I have to mute. Could you stop talking?
We've witnessed that on the Zoom call.
I've seen it.
And it's like, I'm home, but I'm at work, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and it's a lot. And then the mental health piece of it, it can be draining. There are times that I said, oh my God, I wish I could just exit into oblivion right now.
Wow.
And come back about 15 minutes and everything would be okay. It's tough. It is very
I like
tough.
the working at home, but I don't like being home all the time.
Yes.
I do not like being home. I love the fact that I'm going to church, and I love the fact that
You get a little escape.
Yeah, and I love the fact that I've been going to the gym consistently. I'm still seeing my trainer twice a week, and that's really, really been amazing, because in a season where things are so out of control, it feels good to feel like I'm controlling something. So that's been really, really helpful for me.
I think that is the thing, like the downfall to working from home. There's no separation between home and work now.
Right.
So now it's like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta go sit in my car for 15 minutes just so I can like get some kind of break. So I think that's the only down for me. Like,
No, I
there's
agree.
separation.
And I don't believe in magic, but there are times I'm like, I wish I had a wand.
Wave it. Wave
Do you
it.
wish you had a wand? I wish I had a wand. Like the house is clean. Push. Dinner is ready. The kids are back.
The work day's over. Say that one louder.
Exactly. The laundry is folded.
Yes.
I'm in Jamaica and I'm back. No, seriously, there are times that I'm like, oh my goodness, boom. And there are times I wish I wanted to call he's at work. So like, could you just come? Could you just come? Because you may come home and there are no kids here. It is tough. But God has been good in the middle of it, because I am doing other things and again trying to maximize on this season. But again, there are times when it's like really, really difficult to handle.
Danny, you mentioned, you're on two wheels. And during this time, I wanted to find out, like, how are we really, like, functioning? I don't know if some people keep busy to just sort of, have something going, keep their mind focused, or is it sort of a reaction or a response to, nervousness or unsurety that they're feeling on the inside? So, some people, you see it, it's like they're constantly doing something. It's like, when do they stop? And that worries me. That concerns me. When I see you like moving like the Energizer Bunny, that really concerns me.
That's interesting.
So can I be honest? I also share that sentiment. Like, I honestly, and this might just be like me being like a clinical perspective, but I really feel like sometimes people who are doing too much are running from something else. Like they're trying to avoid something bigger. That's just my personal opinion. And it doesn't mean that it's always true, because there's an exception to every rule, right? But sometimes like the feelings that come with feeling like you're being productive, the feelings of like I'm doing quantity makes you feel like you value, like you matter, like there's value in you, like you're being seen, like there's, affirmations that come with it. But I'm a huge believer in quality over quantity.
Always.
There's people that do 101 things, and there's like only one thing that's actually being done correctly and productively.
True.
And the other 100 are just like, you're like, please
Escape
drop this
and escape,
because you cannot take it, or you cannot do it. So I'm a huge believer in quality versus quantity. And especially in the kingdom of God, I think that's very important. Like, we need to make sure that the things that we're doing are quality for God, and not just saying like, well, I'm doing a lot, so that means that I'm working for God.
Right.
I think what scares me is not even the business, is when you do check in with somebody and you know that they're not well, and they're like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. But how do you address that? Do you say, I know you're not good?
I mean, sometimes I want to, and it depends on who it is, but I'm like, you're not. But I just let people be sometimes.
I think it depends on the relationship you have with the person. You can say like, like if we're really close, like I can tell something is off. But if not, just giving them like the option, like, well, I'm here for you if you ever want to talk about it or explore it.
Yeah. And we're going to continue our conversation, but we want to check in with you, and we want to hear your comments. How are you really, really doing? Is there anything that we're talking about that is resonating with you? Let's continue our conversation. I know you talk about, the quality over quantity, and I know that I'm super busy, and it's not because I'm trying to escape from anything. I think for me, I find that this is my season, and I have to maximize on it. Hence the reason why I know that it's coming to an end, and I'm gonna have to let go at some point.
And I think that's different, because at the end of the day, you know yourself best.
Yes.
So someone can have an assumption of what you think you're doing, why you're doing it, but you, that self-audit comes in, and you're like, no, I know this is coming from a good place, but there is a term called escapism.
Yes. Yes.
Escapism is when you try to escape certain things by staying busy or being involved in things just for the sake of saying that I'm doing something and escaping the actual problem. And whenever you run from something, it never really goes away. Yeah. It just keeps coming up in different ways. It's like a seed, right? Like you can plant a seed and you think that, all right, I took the fruits out of it, but the roots are still there and they're going to keep growing and they're going to keep trying to come up. So Google it. Escapism. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And there's a lot of people that, although they're feeling very productive, and I get your point, because I think you're right, like that season, you're calculating, you're like, hold on, this has to keep going.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people that are experiencing that, and I think we all experienced it in one season in our lives when we compare ourselves and we're like, man, they're doing this, or they're doing that, or I'm having troubles with this person at my house, or this and that, and you get into a place that you're just trying to escape the situation, so you're just holding on to anything you can so that you don't have to confront that issue.
Right. Because the minute they stop.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's good. I have a question. Can you be like in the middle between where this is my season and maybe I'm suffering from a little bit of escapism? Because as you were talking, I'm thinking, am I doing that? no lie. No lie. I'm sitting here thinking, like,
it's true.
Am I doing that? Because I know there's something that I'm trying to do, someplace I'm trying to get. And I'm like, I'm not getting there. So then I'm picking up this and I'm picking up that. But at the same time, I feel like this is my season because doors are opening. So I'm going to walk through them. So can I be in the middle? Because I feel like it's a little bit of both.
That's a good question.
I think you can be in the middle.
I think so too.
Like I said, I feel like you really have to search within and say, okay,
what's the purpose for
I've got this part-time job.
Yeah.
It's for the house, or it's for the car, or it's for that job, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And that's the motive behind it. Now, an example could be like, I might be escaping from something. Like, I got 7 jobs because I don't want to confront the fact that I'm living with someone and we keep getting into arguments, and I don't really want to have to confront them about the arguments that we're getting into. So rather than confronting and having a conversation and exploring that with that person, I'm just going to avoid them and run off. So I think there's definitely a difference. Yeah. But you kind of just have to break it down and see where it fits.
Yeah. But Angie, you mentioned escapism, and I think another element to that, I mean, I'm not a professional therapist, but I feel like denial is a part of that escapism as well. I mean, you're doing all these things, to sort of, keep your mind occupied. Yes, this is your season. Yes, you're going to capitalize on the moment. But when does it become, okay, I'm denying that such and such is going on, and how am I dealing with it?
I agree.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, because you were saying, like, they just keep going and going and going. It's because if they stop, they're going to have to deal with that.
Deal with the real issue.
So just keep going. Just keep doing it.
Just keep going.
And I don't know how people do that, because I need to understand. Like, I need to feel everything.
Right.
Like, that's just who I am.
That's so powerful, though. Like, you need to feel everything.
And that's why, like, when I get too busy, I'm like, okay, I got to pump the brakes, because I don't have time for myself.
Right.
And I don't know where I am. So I need to check in with self.
With yourself.
So I don't know how people keep going and going and going. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get exhausted just watching them.
But it's so connected to how they're feeling at the core. And I'm talking again, when someone is really trying to run from something, or when someone's experiencing escapism, what's attached to that? Why do I keep running? Because there's low self-esteem, there's negative self-image, there's, some people don't feel effective. So then they find somewhere that they do, and they're just like, this is what I need to do all the time, 24/7. And then they attach. And what can happen is that then that becomes your identity. And that's part of the issue with escapism. You attach that to your identity. My value is based on feeling needed. My value is based on feeling productive. And those things don't define us.
They don't.
They do not define us.
I want to ask our married couples, I know 2 of us are married here, how are you doing in marriage right now? Because I know that for most couples, everyone's locked in together. How is the conversations going? How is the sex going? How are the children going? What's going on with you? We want to check in with you. We want to hear how you're really, really doing. Tisha, how is marriage going for you in this season?
I think we're flourishing.
You're flourishing.
I mean, you're literally locked in, with one another. But I think, on a mental, emotional, and even a spiritual level, we're locked in.
We're locked in.
Yeah, so I think it's been good for us.
It's been good.
Yeah, I can't complain.
So I know. I do ask, and I know I'm married with children, and we're trying to balance it. So I'll be real with you. We're trying to balance because my husband does go out to work, and I am home with the children. And like I said earlier, it gets a little bit frustrating because there are times when, am I alone in this? But I understand that he's out working, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it feels like, as a single mother, like I'm home with all the children.
Like married couples, do you guys schedule like date nights? Like, are you guys intentional about having that alone time?
Not for us, I'll be honest with you, it's almost not a priority right now, but I think that we need to do something because we need to escape, because I'm telling you,
you should.
And as a mother, I'm a kind of mother like this where I feel guilty if I leave the kids behind. Like I'm like, come on, let's everybody go to the restaurant, and I have to prioritize that. You know what, we do need that alone time. You know, if I'm planning a trip to go away, like, let all the kids come. Let them experience it. I'm that kind of a mother because I feel guilty because I don't feel.
Stay home.
I don't want to
feel guilty
because I feel like they're my responsibility. Like I don't want to leave that on somebody else, even if it's just for a weekend. It's just me. Like, did I tell y'all that I brought all 3 of them to Jamaica last year
by herself? What? Oh my God!
I know my best friend was living her best life. I just know
one on her back, one on her chest, and how many suitcases, and I did, and
wow.
So that's the kind of, and I know that there are mothers out there like me, like I don't want to leave that responsibility on somebody else. So you know, they tag along with us. But like you said, I'm glad that you asked that question because it's something that we're talking about. We need to prioritize.
But you know what?
In making
I'm not a
happen.
parent, so I don't know. I don't share that experience. And from the outside, I'm like, girl, abuela, like,
yes, for real.
That's just me. But I'm not a parent, so I don't share that.
Yes, yeah.
But I do feel like a lot of times we identify with those things because it's an experience that we had. Like if we ever felt abandoned, we feel like, man, me leaving my kids is like I'm abandoning them.
It's the truth. It's
like, have you ever felt abandoned?
That's why I tag them along. That's why I really do. I tag them along because I just want to know that they're there, and you know, the person that one of the people that love them the most is me. That's how I feel.
Awesome.
That's how I feel.
That mama bear instinct.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
But if you're not feeling well, you're not going to be able to, on that daily level, daily functioning level, you're not going to be able to perform because if you're not full, how are you going to pour into those 3 little cups?
Man, I'm telling you.
I'm taking some of my inspiration.
Oh, sorry. But it's true. Like, and then I know that's tough because I'm not a parent, so I don't know. But just from the outside, I'm like,
just keep pouring.
We're going to drop you off.
How are you as a single mom? How's that going?
So, yes, I'm a single mom who has co-parenting support. So
right.
I get my vacations. So I get my weekends where I can just decompress. Where it's like, 'cause you need it,
that's
right?
Good. Yeah.
Because you're just going, and doing so, you forget about yourself a lot. Yes. So it's like, y'all go to dad's house, mom's gonna go get a facial, sleeping all day. But I don't do that though because I'm super busy.
If you wanted to,
if I wanted to, I could, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things. But I also can talk about how what Tisha said, the relationship is stronger with her husband. For me, and my 14-year-old, our relationship is much stronger from the pandemic. I mean, I thought that it was going to turn everything upside down. Right. In the beginning, it was a little hectic, but now it's like we're like the best of friends.
Nice.
And you look exactly alike. So
she's my twin.
So it's really cute. It's like a little clone.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a plus to me. Definitely,
that's nice.
Our relationship for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a bonding season with most mothers and children. Families. If you really capitalize on it, I think it's a really bonding time. And even going back to sex, because I know that again, this is a thing that we have to talk about with our checking in. Because again, with the busyness of life, there's not a lot of couples that are actually spending intimate time together because people are you're home but you're tired, right? And so I think that's one of the priorities that we're gonna have to make our relationships
make time for
each other.
She keeps looking over here. We ain't got no husband.
I was just saying, like, could have fooled me because I feel like everybody's like, by the way. So I'm having a child. Exactly. That's all I was like. I think everybody's spending time together.
They're spending time because everybody's pregnant, right?
Baby showers I've gone to.
I know.
Quarantine baby showers.
All the announcements on social media. I'm like, okay then, all right.
But I do feel like you have to make things a priority. Aside from just the sexual aspect of things, like you have to prioritize like relationships that mean something to you, because if not, like my mom always says, love is like a flower.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mama.
My mom, and she says that you need to water it. Like
Yes.
you have to water it. You can't. It's a plant. If you don't water it, if you don't feed it, it's not gonna grow.
Yeah.
So you have to prioritize that.
And that goes for self-love as well.
Talk about
Yes.
it.
Like watering yourself. And like you said, Nikita, you take your time, you go and you do whatever it is that you need to do for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I was wanting to talk about with you ladies today.
Yes.
Like just your inner peace and like taking care of yourself, making sure your mental is good. Because we're worrying about everybody else, like our jobs, our school, our children, but what about ourselves? Like you said, you don't have time sometimes for yourself.
Yes.
So like, what are some things that you guys do to like center yourself or like to feel like yourself during this pandemic?
I love that. What do you do to feel like yourself?
Yeah.
For me, I'm a music lover, so sometimes I just put my music on blast and I'm gone. You know, I can, sort of escape without escaping, and sort of, just, quiet time. Sometimes, I'll tell BFF, listen, I need to go upstairs for a little bit because I need time by myself. So whether it's reading or just, quietly looking out the window, just something to sort of, recenter. Yeah.
I'm big on meditation, and I get to do this, nightly, where I reflect on my day and just decompress everything. That's what I do. I do want to do more outside things, like getting my nails done, getting a facial, and things like that. But sometimes the reality is for me is that with the uncertainties, if I'm going to be truthful with some of the uncertainties, like, do I want to spend money on that right now because I have 3 kids to feed, things like that. I guess it's a thing inside of me, like, should I go waste 30? I feel like it's a waste right now.
It's not a waste if it makes you feel good.
Back of account. But I know, but for me, sometimes I'm talking truth, and I'm sure there's somebody that can resonate. Like, do I want to go spend $30, $40 on my nails right now, and then, I could have used it to buy grocery or something like that. That's just how I feel. But meditation is a way that I escape these days, honestly.
So for me,
she's coming for me. I can feel it.
No, because I just got my nails done, so I feel attacked. But for me, like
single ladies.
For me, I feel like if you, and I don't mean this so much on the exterior, but I feel like if you look good, you feel good.
Yes.
Like doing little things for yourself, like getting your nails done, doing your hair, buying something that makes you feel confident, that makes you feel, going to the gym. Like, I think those are my big ones. Going to the gym, doing my nails, definitely. And I was telling actually Tiffany earlier that I like to spend time with myself. And actually on the drive here, I actually apologized to myself. And I'm like, I'm sorry, because I feel like I've neglected myself.
Wow.
In the sense of like,
that's deep.
That's very deep.
Yeah, like my whole life and my whole day is filled with people. Like I work with people, ministry, just always with people. And sometimes I neglect just spending time with myself and thanking myself for all that it does. Like, obviously, the God is first, and I thank God for waking me up and giving me another opportunity. But like, sometimes you really just have to get to the point that you're like, thank you, legs, for walking. Like, and I know that sounds silly, but like, thank you, mind, for being able to stay on time. Like, you just have to kind of reaffirm some things within yourself and thank God for them as well. So for me, it's been like the gym, like I said, the nails. Going to TJ Maxx. I'm sorry.
Say shopping. I was waiting for you to say shopping.
Shopping.
Who doesn't shop?
And you know what the thing about TJ Maxx is and Marshalls and stuff? Like, you really don't need to. You really don't need to go with a list or anything. You find it.
You'll find
whatever
it comes to you. Yes.
It comes to you. Like, all of a sudden, I have like 7 notebooks that say, for another plan that I have for you to praise the Lord.
Can I tell you what I hate when I go to the register? Is they said, did you find what you were looking for? And I say, I was not looking for anything.
My family thinks I'm at a doctor's appointment, okay?
I go in, I'm like, eyelash curler, $2.99. I think I did it.
It's just random stuff too. It'd be like random perfumes you never heard of. I'm like, I guess this works.
So get that TJ Maxx and Marshalls.
Right.
Sponsors.
Well, I just like shopping, which I need to budget, but
But we're talking about marriage and single motherhood. How are the single ladies? How are you guys in this season?
So
check in with us.
And then you check in about the singleness. Like, how are you doing? Because you didn't get to check.
No, I said I'm okay.
Oh yes.
I said I'm good. I mean, she's talking about relationships now.
Yes.
She's not talking about like me with my kids.
No,
she's talking about like
relationships.
So start us off.
The season is changing. The holidays are coming up. How make you feel?
So I'm not gonna lie, it snowed last night, guys. I was cold and lonely.
Did you have the blankets at least? Did you have cozy blankets?
I'm over the blankets. The winter season is so hard.
Can I share something?
It is hard.
Someone shared a meme with me, and it was like, I realized that I was cold, so I rolled over to cuddle, but then I remembered I was single and I fell off the bed.
So true.
And I'm like, man, the internet never fails.
It really doesn't. I'm about to get one of those weighted blankets.
That helps. That helps.
Blanket.
She's like, babe, you're heavy. You been eating, huh?
So you're still waiting for the husband, right?
Still waiting for husband, but I know the Lord.
Come on now.
The door, and he gonna walk right up there and be like, "Hey, boo." You know what I'm saying?
That's what you want him to do? Like, boo?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm be like, "Hey."
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna know it's him. I'm just gotta be patient. You know,
Gotta be patient.
Winter is tough.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
tough.
not holidays.
Holidays.
Tough.
Yeah.
But we ain't going anywhere this holiday season. Everybody's staying home, right?
But
But I mean, I have kids, but it's like people who don't, like, you're still home alone.
Tiffany said
Home Alone
one
3.
episode that there's 3 times that you're reminded you're single, or 2 holidays.
Holidays and
and your birthday.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna
holidays
add
are coming up,
seasons
so you
to
already
Right.
know how I feel.
How do you feel?
How do you feel, Tiffany?
Talk to us in
My feelings a little bit.
Yes, be in it.
If I'm honest with you
checking
guys,
in.
Be honest. Check in. Girlfriend check in.
We're checking in.
now everybody's staring at me.
I want to hear a thumbs
But
up.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be nice to share the holidays with someone or your birthday with someone.
Yeah.
Other than that, I feel totally fine. I'm like, I'm good. But then when the holiday comes up and I'm like, I want to wear those pajamas too.
She's like, I want to make a gingerbread man.
I want to make a gingerbread house. I want to carve my this as my day.
With your day.
With
Carve the
hot chocolate.
turkey.
Yeah.
Carve a turkey.
Yeah. How are you doing, Angie?
I'm
In your season.
I'm doing fine because I still feel 5 sometimes. So, it's just different. I feel like this is a familiar season. Like, you know what it's about.
Yeah.
But I'm doing fine. I feel like it just comes with the
When
territory.
it happens.
It's just like these feelings come with the territory of being in this season.
Yes.
So just trying to be productive and do what I gotta do.
Yeah. And I think for me, as time, goes on, I'm getting older. I'm like, I want a son. So time's ticking, and I'm looking
Clock's
at the time.
ticking.
Yeah, clock's ticking. Thank you. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
That's legit though. That's legit.
Yeah. So we know this has just been an overwhelming season, and as always, as a sisterhood here, we wanted to check in with all of you, and we can't wait to hear your response and your comments about how you are really doing. But we're going to go into our inspirational pieces.
Ladies, I know that it's been quite the conversation checking in, and that can be very, very heavy. But I want to leave you with this. Confronting certain things can be hard, but not harder than carrying something you weren't meant to carry alone. Allow God to heal and be your driving force. No one is you, and that is your power. Tap into that power. Grow, evolve, celebrate who you are. Someone is waiting for exactly what you have to offer. And I also want to share a piece from my favorite poem by Marianne Williamson. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant and gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others don't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. How powerful. What a light you hold.
And to the single mother, before I go into my inspirational piece, I want to share some tips to strengthen the relationship with your children. Be patient. Listen. Don't make assumptions. Admit when you're wrong and don't know something. Find out your child's interest and get involved. Be a friend, but don't stop being a parent. I know that's easier said than done, but the way to do that is by having open conversation and share real stories with your children and let them know that you're human. Because at the end of the day, mama, you are, in one word, strong. You continue to amaze others, especially your children, as you seamlessly juggle multiple tasks at once. This pandemic has forced you to be a teacher, a nurse, a counselor, and a best friend. Homeschooling is not easy, so let go of some of that stress. Throw out that new school math. Old school is where it is. Your commitment to your children is everything, so hold your head up. You are needed and appreciated. Your sacrifice you make daily do not go unnoticed. Don't be discouraged. Keep pushing. You got this. Don't feel guilty. Take some time for yourself. Decompress, unwind, rest, and give yourself a pat on the back because you deserve it.
Thank you. Awesome. This is for everyone. Take a self-audit. Check in with yourself. It's okay to feel the way you're feeling, but don't stay stuck there. The constant use of technology and the internet makes you feel like you have to be on at all times. It's okay to take a break. Your lunch breaks sometimes become shorter because you're surfing the net or trying to respond to text messages and trying to do everything. But take that time for yourself. Make your lunch break be your break. Let your weekends be your weekend. We're stressed, we're worried, we're anxious because we have to be on at all times. It's okay to shut off and take time for you. Take care of you. Thanks.
I wanted to take a moment to thank those of you who have been watching and engaging. I would love to see more of you joining our conversations. It is of special interest to me how women treat and interact with one another. And I'm grateful for this fantastic forum where we can learn and share with one another and you. Something I can share with you is take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Be kind to yourself so you can be kind to others. Love yourself as God loves you so you can give the greatest love to others. Peace and blessings.
And I'm going to cry. I just first want to say thank you for joining our conversation. And to every woman with young children, I know it's not easy. I know it can be really, really difficult. But certainly, do find a way to spend time with yourself, even if you have to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, and it's something that I'm learning to do as well. I want to say this last piece from Maya Angelou. Now you understand just why my head is not bowed. I don't shout or jump about, or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it is a click in my heels, the bend in my hair, the need of my care, 'cause I am a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me, that's you, that's you, that's you, that's you, that's you. Until next time, everyone, this has been The Truth.